sound.
Hands. Hands. Hands.
Well, the party was nice, the party was pumping, and everybody having a ball.
Okay, so I'm going to go through the engineering design process. The first step in this process is ask. We were tasked with building an automatic chicken coop door. What this had to do was it had to go up and down on an electrical switch, and it also had to have a manual component. We then had to do some research and come up with our plan. We looked at the different types of chicken coops, the kinds of doors. You could have horizontal doors, vertical doors, or you could come up with some other kind of door. We decided we would go with a vertical door. We chose to run it with a motor. We were planning on having a pulley system worked in. We wanted to have it on a light sensor so that the door would go up and down on its own time with the natural light. As chickens go in and out of the coop, they go out when it's light out and come in when it gets dark out for safety. So we came up with our plan to build our door, have this pulley system with a switch and a light sensor, and we gathered some materials and we started to try to put this together. Well, it was a lot harder than we thought it was going to be. So we tried to create our system, which is the next step in the engineering process, but it just wouldn't work. So we had to do some backtracking and come up with a new plan. We ended up finding a Blink board from SparkFun, which is a Wi-Fi powered board that you can connect to an app on your phone, that we were able to put both a button and a timer in to get our door to go down. We connected this to our motor, and so we were able to have a timer for the door to go up and let the chickens out, but we couldn't get the timer system to work to get the door to go down. So what we did was we put a reversing switch in the system so that you can just go and flip the switch, make sure your chickens are all in, and then close the door for the night. So we had to improve upon our idea as we went through the design process because what we originally tried to do just wouldn't work. So we had to keep rethinking, retrying, and eventually get our door to be the best we could.
Go ahead. All right. So some of the biggest challenges that we faced when making the chicken coop door, the first was time. I'm sure everybody has told you at some point during Fed, they realized that time was becoming an issue. We started to realize that maybe about 2 to 3 weeks before the actual Fed day. And so a really important aspect of not only this Fed project, but engineering in general, is managing your time so you can make sure that you have everything that you need and then you can build the product. Our first problem was that we didn't exactly know what parts we needed because we were undecided on the design. So it's important to get any parts that you might need and get them in abundance so that if you use them up or don't have enough, that way you'll always have spares that you can go back to build your prototype. We didn't have some of the parts and then ran out of other parts. So when you have to order them, especially if they come from foreign countries, it can take a while. So you want to make sure that you have all your parts to begin with. Another really big challenge that we had to deal with was, you look up here, in complex circuit. So I've had some experience in physics with circuits, but nothing to do with timers and sensors. So when we were creating this Fed project, we had to think about how exactly we could implement these, if at all. And so in working with this complex circuitry, with some help from some upperclassmen that I definitely suggest you use as well, we were able to send current to this switch. Now this switch gives it 2 options, which will send the rotor either this way, clockwise, or it'll send it the other way and go counterclockwise. So we had to configure this so that it would run on the timer while still maintaining the direction of current that we wanted to through the circuit. This was all connected through a sensor to Emily's phone using Bluetooth. Another problem we had to deal with was when we were finally implemented the circuit correctly, we had to deal with rotor gears that got stuck. And so we didn't know exactly what the problem was at first, and so we had to take apart the rotor and test each of the gears and make sure that they spun correctly and in order. That was a very scary feeling because we only had one rotor again. We probably should have had two for something like this in case it happened. And so when we finally took it apart, we were able to oil it up and make sure that everything ran smoothly. So make sure that it's simple enough that you can guarantee that it's going to run. If you find yourself overthinking or ordering too many parts for your Fed project, it probably needs to be simplified. And then when it comes to your group itself, you want to make sure that you're meeting frequently and communicating with each other. You know, it may not be possible to meet every day or every 2 days because people have busy schedules, but everyone has a phone. You can text, you can call, you can FaceTime, you can do whatever you need to do to make sure that you're all on the same page and keeping up with the things that need to get done. Finally, the most important requirement is to have fun, because that's what this is all about, and that's why we're all engineers. We all want to help the world, and we all want to use our brain power, but at the end of the day, we're here to have fun.
Compared to the other chicken groups, we did pretty well. We got a third place with an 87.5. The group that got first place scored 5 points above us, while the group below us in fourth place scored 7 points below us. So that really shows something about the spread. We probably could have won if we were in the morning session because the highest score was an 86 and we got an 87. And the reason that we didn't win was probably because we only had a timer for the upward movement of the door, while the other groups had timers for both up and down.
Hey guys, there's not much that we do differently, but if we could go back in time and change something, we'd definitely start a little bit earlier, which is a very obvious change because that little bit of time that you need at the end to get the little details ironed out could really come through. And then we'd also like to check out the maker spaces because we could find a lot of parts and maybe even find an experienced builder that could help us. And then next, we would have looked for help from a professor or from another student who possibly did the chicken coop project in the past. This would have allowed us to get things done a lot faster and probably help with our circuitry, which we definitely had some trouble with. And then next, we would have researched a little more, especially on the science side, because all chicken coops definitely have some physics in it because of the mechanics behind it. So whether you have a mechanical chicken coop or an electric chicken coop, physics will definitely come through for you. And then the last thing is that we focus on the little details so that we could get those extra points in the end. Like maybe we would work on insulation or possibly just make the aesthetics a little bit better.